Hey everyone, looks like we've got some people coming in all the way from Paris and the Czech Republic. I need to get on board with the current status of things. Um, Good to see everybody who's out there in the audience. We're just a minute behind, so thank you for your patience with us as we're getting up and started. Hey Enrico, hey Chris, how are y'all doing today?
Doing very
Hey,
well,
Tim.
Etienne. Nice to see you.
Good to see you
Hey,
guys.
Tim.
If you are new to the webinars for Greenlight Guru, feel free to put in the chat where you're from. We'd love to see where you're coming in from. Looks like a lot of people have already done that. Israel, UK, Florida, Cleveland, Ohio, Boston. Very cool. A lot of people, a lot of representation. That's fantastic. Since we are about a minute behind, let's just go ahead and get started. Everybody, welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is on strategies for navigating the EU MDR extension deadlines. My name is Etienne Nichols. I'm a medical device guru here at Greenlight Guru, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. Today's session will run for about 60 minutes in total. We might stretch it depending on the amount of questions we get. So definitely as we go through, think of the questions that you'd like to ask and be asking those throughout. But before we get too far, let's walk through our webinar software. Now, full disclosure, they've changed a few things, and so it's relatively new for me. So if this is your first time, you're on the same level as all of us today. But on the right side of your screen, you see the chat there. That's where you can engage with other attendees. You can put general comments. We ask that you play nicely. The Q&A tab is now located over on the far left side. If you look at over there, there's a button that says Q&A, and that should allow you to ask some questions throughout the webinar. We'd like you to ask your specific questions in that section. That way we can prioritize those questions and try to make sure we get the questions asked that are relevant to you, our audience. Also, we always get the question, will you be sharing the full recording and slides? Yes, we will be doing that. We'll share that after the webinar, so keep an eye out for that email from us in the coming days. Now I'd like to share a few words about Greenlight Guru and why it is that we put on these free training sessions. Improving the quality of life for our customers and their patients is our mission here at Greenlight Guru. It's likely a similar mission to many of you joining us today. At Greenlight Guru, our mission and our focus is on moving MedTech forward. That means helping you get your life-changing medical devices to market and keeping them there over time. We know the challenges of bringing medical device companies bringing medical devices to market in this heavily regulated industry. So our solutions are designed to help streamline your processes so you can navigate the regulatory hurdles and succeed in the market. Greenlight Guru's MedTech suite provides quality management, product development, and clinical data management solutions, along with high-quality training and education designed exclusively for medical devices. So if you're interested in seeing why 1,200 of the world's leading medical device companies trust Greenlight Guru, head over to Greenlight Guru, www.greenlight.guru after today's session and see a personalized demo. Today's webinar is focused on the EUMDR challenges and extension deadlines, as well as strategies for meeting the new submission deadlines, including best practices for clinical data collection. So here at Greenlight Guru, we built the leading toolbox for MedTech clinical data collection. It's specifically designed for MedTech operations, and Greenlight Guru Clinical is a single compliant platform for collection and management of all your clinical evidence, safety, and performance data. So if you're interested in learning more about this system and how it can help you streamline your clinical studies, you can schedule a demo with us as well. All right, let's turn our attention to today's presenters. The reason you're here today, Enrico Perfler is the founder of OneMed, and Chris Rush is the solutions engineer at Greenlight Guru. They'll be discussing this topic with us today. Enrico is a serial entrepreneur in the medical device industry, and he has accumulated over 20 years of professional experience in the field, particularly specializing in regulatory affairs of medical device technology. In 2014, Enrico established OneMed SA, an innovative international company that provides a broad spectrum of services, including regulatory support, digital solutions, and comprehensive clinical research organization, CRO services for medical devices. The company caters to the medical device and in vitro or IVD products, and under his leadership, OneMed has been at the forefront of overseeing the development and regulatory approval of over 500 medical devices in Europe, cementing Enrico's status as a pivotal figure in the medtech sector. And in 2020, OneMed, under Enrico's direction as CEO, was recognized among the top 10 medical device life science outsourcing consulting service companies in Europe. So pay attention to what he has to say. He has a lot of experience, and he is going to be sharing that with us today. Chris Rush is a biomedical engineer, has been in the medical space for about 13 years, and he's spent a number of years managing clinical studies for Class 3 medical devices and pivotal studies, PMA studies, and post-market entries. He's currently working as a solutions engineer at Greenlight Guru, where he showcases the value of electronic data capture software to prospects. I don't know if many people know more about the software than Chris, so if you have questions about that, he's your man. All right, now for the part you've all been waiting for, the featured content for today's webinar, it's my pleasure to hand it over to our presenters. Take it away, Enrico and Chris.
Thank you, Jen. So thank you, Chris. I will start immediately showing you the agenda of today. So I want to give you an introduction about MDR and in particular to the challenges for having MDR in place. And then also I want to discuss with you how important is 2024 for the medical device sector, as well as we will discuss together if European market is still a first choice for medical device manufacturer, and how to navigate actual regulatory challenges due to MDR implementation. And then at the end, food for thoughts. So I have 5 take-home messages that we can discuss also in the QA session. MDR was and is really a challenging journey since 26 May 2021. The MDR is in place, and it created a lot of headache for everybody in the sector, not only for medical device manufacturer, but also for regulators and for notified body. You know better than I that this journey for the implementation of MDR was very difficult, and we had COVID, and COVID slowed down all the activity for the effective implementation of MDR. And given that critical situation, European Commission decided to postpone the application of medical device from 2020 to 2021. So this was the first delay of the application. But also in 2021, we noticed that there were a lot of missing points in the regulatory framework, because we had a severe lack of notified body, and this was a problem because notified body were not still designated for supporting the transition from MDD to MDR. We had a lack of expert panel, as well as a lack of common specification and guidelines. And this was also very difficult due to the fact that COVID was still in place, and we had in 2021 the Omicron COVID variant, which affected additionally the market and the situation that we know very well. And also in 2022, where there were a number of unexpected events that were not supportive for the industry. And these are absolutely situations that we know very, very well. And so all the combination of all these elements pushed and forced the European Commission to delay additionally the full application of MDR. And so the deadline was, the new deadline was 26th of May, 2024. So something that happened just a few weeks ago. And a few highlights about this new postponement is first of all, the transition period extended from 26th of May 2024 to end of December 2027 for higher risk medical devices, and to end December 2028 for medium and lower risk medical devices. So this gives a lot of time, more time for medical device manufacturer to be in compliance with MDR, but as well as provide more time also for the notified body to process a huge number of applications they received, as we will see later on in this presentation, so they can process in the right way and avoid that there is a shortage of medical device on the market. Here, this slide is very important, so you can see in a shot the new transition deadline for Class 3, Class 2B, and Class 2A, Class 1 medical devices. And so really we need to consider these extended transition timelines as an opportunity, not only for the manufacturer, but also for the notified body for the certification of new medical devices, as well as for MDD medical device to MDR medical device. And also, if we take a look at the slide that was captured from a survey published on July 2023, you can see that on the application from MDD to MDR of existing medical device was around 11,000, but only 25% of these applications really have been converted in a real certification. So this is very important because it gives you a sense of the time that you need also for the recertification process, as well as also for the challenges that you need to face, because there is more complexity in and the higher expectation from notified body, and so also also medical device manufacturer needs to produce higher level of quality, in particular relating to the collection of clinical data. So why 2024 is so important? First of all, because we had this 26th of May 2024 as a deadline for the application and for the recertification of a medical device from MDD to MDR. So by May 2024, you had to submit to your notified body an application form in order to be granted to benefit from the extended deadlines that we showed before. But there are certain conditions in order that you can be, let's say, granted of this extended deadline. First, you need to apply before 26th of May 2024. Second, you needed to have, let's say, medical devices that continue to comply with MDD and Active Implantable Medical Device Directive. Third, there are no significant changes in the design or intended purpose of the medical device to be granted to continue to be sold. And last but not least, the risk-benefit analysis of your product must be the same. So there should be no changes or no severe adverse reaction from the market that can pose a risk for patient safety. And last but not least, you need also to be capable to sign before 26th of September 2024 a written agreement with a notified body in order that you can transfer appropriate surveillance to an MDR designated notified body. There are other important dates that we need to keep in mind. 26th of May 2026 because this is the end of derogation for Class 3 custom-made implantable devices, and then the other two deadlines that we already showed before. So end of December 2027 is the end of transition period for Class 3 and Class 2B implantable devices, and December 2028 for the other medical devices. And if we also take a look at the last survey that was published a few months ago, we can see also the actual status of the submission process to the notified body. If we consider that we have an overall of around 25,000 certificates released under MDD, we can see that February of 2024, medical device manufacturers submitted around 20,000 certificates to the notified body in order to recertify these products under MDR. So there was a consistent increase because July last year, this number was 50% less. And also there is an increase of the MDR certified medical devices, but as you see, the gap is still consistent. And so the next years will be crucial for avoiding a shortage of a medical device on the market. And we need also to consider the aspects that I told you before related to the challenges posed by MDR regarding the quality of the data that you need to collect, in particular clinical data, but also for the quality management system and also for the risk analysis. And yeah, here is another important aspect that we need to consider. So you see that to sign an agreement with a notified body, you need to hurry up, because normally they take between 1 and 2 months. But as you can see on the left, on the right side of these slides, you see that there are still a consistent number of notified body that take more than 2 months for signing this agreement. So this means that if the deadline is 26th of September, you need to hurry up, otherwise you will be out. And another really important point that we need to take in consideration is also the quality of the data that is submitted to the notified body. As you can see, more than 90% of refusal from notified body is due to certain formal and bureaucratic aspects. For example, you see that sometimes medical device manufacturers select a notified body which are outside of the scope of the certification of this specific medical device, as well as other issues are related to the misclassification of the medical device by the manufacturer. So classification of the medical device and the selection of notified body are two basic things, but these are critical, otherwise your application is refused. And also regarding the completeness of submission, you see that if we also compare the quality of data collected in 2022 compared to the quality of data collected in 2024 by the medical device manufacturer, you see that there is not still a big improvement, and a big portion of a big share of the submission are absolutely not complete. What does it mean? This is affecting for sure the possibility that you will be recertified under MDR, and this also is going to how to say, extend the timeline that requested by notified body for reviewing your technical dossier. So if they take more time because you don't provided say a technical dossier complete at the first shot, this means that you will be in queue again, and so other submission will advance, and so you can also miss eventually the deadline of 2027 or 2028 because the technical dossier is not complete. As you see, a big number of applications was performed until February 2024, but the number of recertified technical medical device is limited still, and so there is still a huge amount of medical device needs to be recertified. And so if you avoid mistakes, this will be, let's say, will give you more chances to be recertified in time, in order that there will be no discontinuity after the expiration of the deadlines that we showed before. And so, given this situation, which is not super happy, one medical device manufacturer should consider if European market is still a first choice. And as an investor also, this is something that I do when I invest in a company. So the regulatory strategy is key in order to create the better pathway to enhance the chance of success of your project. And I have to say that for decades, it was absolutely recognized that the European market was first choice. So there were a number of startups based in the United States that targeted Europe. They ran their first human or pilot study here and got the CE mark, and then they conducted, additional study or additional activity for winning FDA approval. Now probably is the vice versa, in particular when we consider class 2 medical devices, because in United States you can have 510K, and this is a really straightforward way to win market access to the biggest market in the world, which is the US market for sure. So in this sense, it's not surprising that about 50% of medical device company interviewed during the Medtech Europe surveys considered, let's say, they prioritize the European market in favor of the US market. But we have also to say that the European market is very attractive for a number of reasons. Is a big market because the value is 160 billion, is the second largest market in the world. And despite, let's say, the draining of resources that medical device manufacturers are putting for the transition from MDD to MDR, there is still a lot of space for innovation, because we have in Europe a number of R&D excellence, and this was built during the last years. The fact that CE mark has been a first choice for a number of years allowed also to develop in Europe an important network. We have excellent university and hospitals for running clinical investigation. We have a huge number of CDMOs, and we have also a number of CROs with expertise in the medical device field. And so this environment is very good also for supporting startup or small, medium enterprises in developing their new products. And this is also confirmed by the number of patents filed in Europe, which is the biggest number compared also to United States and to Japan. So if we have to say something, let's say, against, in addition to what always is told to regulators after MDR publication, but if we have something to say and to claim, is the fact that we should also push the regulators to support and embrace innovation, because the market is there. There are infrastructure, there are the competencies, but there are certain missing points in MDR which should be addressed. So first is, let's say, a sort of facilitation in establishing early pre-market dialogue with a notified body. So this is really important, because this can avoid also to create a mismatch between expectation of notified body and real activity performed by medical device manufacturer. And also is missing a dedicated and accelerated assessment pathway for innovative medical devices addressing unmet clinical needs. We know that in the United States there is the breakthrough designation program, and this is really valuable because you can establish a very early a dialogue, and very openly a dialogue with the FDA, and this allows to speed up the process and avoid mistakes during the execution of your development program. So these are the missing points that we should, let's say, create a sort of lobby in order that we can, let's say, push the regulators. But also we need to consider what is already contained in MDR And one of the most important points is, and most challenging points for all manufacturers, is the collection of clinical data and the creation of the sufficient level of clinical evidence to certify a medical device under MDR. This is absolutely one of the most impacting points, and also because this increases the cost for the regulatory compliance, and increase also the timelines for the certification of your product, and also this bring for sure to medical device manufacturer to think about their portfolio and create a sort of rationalization. So they need sometimes to dismiss a certain medical device which are no more profitable, and in order that they can stay more focused on certain products that can be maintained on the market, given the fact that the cost for the regulatory quality and clinical compliance is definitely higher under MDR. And as said, the clinical data collection is not only, let's say, important in the pre-market stage for the certification of first certification of your product, but is also very important for to be maintained throughout its entire lifetime. And this is a requirement of MDR, and so manufacturer must proactively collect and evaluate clinical data from the use of a device in a real world, during the real world use. So this is also put a lot of emphasis in this post-market clinical follow-up program that you need to present to the notified body, and also that you need to update during the use of the device, in order that you can provide evidence of that to the notified body. And this is absolutely something which is a cost and require a lot of effort for medical device manufacturers. So in this case, it's absolutely critical to have digital tools to support you for this data collection, so you can maximize the effect while reducing the cost for collecting this mandatory data. So if we have to say a few take-home message, I will say that in 2024 we have a certain critical deadlines which are approaching, so we shouldn't neglect the fact that by 30 of September 2024 we need to sign an agreement with notified bodies. So this is something that we should be focused on in order to benefit from the transition timeline extended to 2027 and 2028. My recommendation is to engage notified body immediately for this topic, but not only. Also, if you have a new medical device, you can start immediately to discuss with them, because their agenda is very, very busy for the next 3 to 4 years. And what I recommend also is to conduct a proactive gap analysis of your technical documentation in order to see if you are capable to meet all the new requirements of MDR compared to MDD, because given the data that we saw from the survey, there are still big gaps in the technical documentation of medical device manufacturer. Embrace digital transformation. As said, given the fact that more clinical data is required, the technical documentation with the risk analysis must be absolutely aligned with a number of technical documentation, like the PMS, like the instruction for use, like the output of the design. So with the clinical, we need to have a sort of holistic approach, and also having a QMS digital could enhance the chance of success, in order that nothing is left or missed, and everything is harmonized. And the last but not least is focus on the benefit versus risk, because we are assisting with MDR in a paradigm shift in which patients are absolutely at the center, and it is really important that you can provide evidence on your technical documentation and clinical documentation. What are the benefits of this specific device compared to the state of the art and with the other treatments? So this is something that notified body are putting a lot of attention. So I concluded my part of the presentation. So I leave to Chris now for moving ahead with the solution.
Fantastic.
That they developed.
Thank you, Enrico. Yeah, Chris, go ahead and if you can get your screen up and go ahead and take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Etienne. Thank you, Enrico. We'll jump right in here. So today I'm going to be sharing some insights from Greenlight Guru perspective on strategies for navigating EU MDR extension deadlines. And I'll be speaking to the topic from a technology standpoint. Enrico alluded to a couple different systems that could be of use. Specifically, he mentioned a QMS system, quality management system that needs to be in place. Greenlight Guru offers a quality management system software solution. Today, I'm going to be focused more on the electronic data capture tool that we offer. So I'm going to specifically focus on how software technology can assist in ensuring quality data collection to meet the demands of the clinical requirements, data collection requirements under the MDR here today. So in terms of the types of PMCF activities, so there's a couple different types. General PMCF activities, these are things like feedback from users, for example, from patients directly, scientific literature review, so some of those elements that go into the clinical evaluation, which feed into the gap analysis, but also general activities include gathering clinical experience gained from physicians, for instance, so clinical outcome assessments, physician surveys, as well as other sources of clinical data like previously published data and research on similar devices. So again, that clinical evaluation, looking at the state of the art, some of these feed into those types of activities. These general activities can be really useful in gathering clinical data, but they're typically not enough to meet the necessary standards for illustrating performance and safety of a device. The data you obtain from general activities is often subjective when it comes to gathering data, for example, from physicians or patients, can be quite subjective, and the quality of the data can vary pretty widely. For example, clinical performance specifically is difficult to prove based solely on subjective physician surveys, for instance. There are also what are called specific PMCF activities. So I have some of those listed here. These include PMCF studies, so full-blown PMCF studies, observational, non-interventional clinical investigations, interventional investigations, post-market, as I mentioned there, interventional clinical investigations, as well as registries, so gathering data on the device in real-world evidence type of scenarios, investigator-initiated studies, which are often a physician or a group of physicians that are studying particular aspects of your device, and the investigator is actually the sponsor. They're kind of the driver of the study. Those can contribute to PMCF data as well. Case cohorts, and as well as subject-specific clinical data collection, so patient-reported outcomes, surveys that are completed directly by subjects as pertains to the device. All that to say, the general activities that we saw in the previous slide likely need to be combined with specific PMCF activities. These specific methods are typically implemented proactively, and they're typically controlled and managed by the manufacturer with the express purpose of obtaining data on the device's performance, sometimes with long-term follow-up, so much more high-quality data collection specific to the device. So given that you'll likely need to carry out multiple types of PMCF activities, I want to take some time to expand on some of the more common methods for gathering clinical data on your device. This list here is certainly not an exhaustive list of the activities that you can carry out, but it should give you an idea of the options that are available, and I'll share some of the pros and cons of these various methods. Subject surveys offer a straightforward method to gathering sometimes non-identifying data directly from study subjects or patients. Surveys of this sort can gather attributes like age ranges and subjective information about the use of their device. With that type of data oftentimes being de-identified, it avoids the regulatory constraints on protected health information. However, the subjective nature and the limitations in covering safety endpoints of surveys can make them less suitable for certain types of devices, for example, class 3, and long-term data collection compared to full-blown clinical investigations. Physician surveys, case studies offer valuable opportunities for collecting case-specific data directly from clinicians, and oftentimes these will be leveraging existing relationships with sales reps or product managers being utilized for outreach to clinicians to make them aware of and facilitate completion of physician surveys. By carefully designing surveys and reports to exclude identifiable patient information, again, these methods can provide insights without the burden of a full-blown clinical investigation, though again, they may not suit class 3 devices or long-term follow-up types of study designs as well. And then lastly here, PMCF studies, registries, investigator-initiated studies. These share a lot of similarities. Sometimes they're single institution, oftentimes they're multi-institution studies employing traditional enrollment like inclusion, exclusion, and consents, as well as very strict data control, ensuring high quality data for reporting to the notified bodies, particularly for class 3 devices. Compliance with the good clinical practice standards, notably ISO 14155, is really essential for data collection integrity, and often these studies do require longer term follow-up. Just a quick note on the pre-market studies as well. There's a lot of similarities in terms of the types of study designs, the complexity of the studies as relates to pre-market studies. What we're seeing here, often there's a lot of crossover similarities in the study design types that may be performed pre-market as well. Oftentimes class 3, you're always going to need to do some sort of clinical study before submission for especially class 3 devices. Oh, and my link is broken here. Shoot. Well, there's supposed to be an image here. It's not showing up. So let me see if I can stop sharing and get it open real quick here. Give me one moment. Apologies for that. Goldcast, sometimes the images are broken as we just saw there. So give me 1 second here.
That's all right. You brought it. You brought us all back. I'm not sure how that happened, but I will just remind everybody in the Q&A, there's some really good questions there, and a few of them have been voted on. But if there's one that's particularly relevant to you, go check that out and make sure your questions are getting asked, and we'll prioritize the ones that get the most votes. But okay, sorry, Chris.
Nope, no worries. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again here, and then I'll transition. I'll have to do a couple of screen share shuffles here. That's okay. Let's do that now. Okay. So a little screen share gymnastics here for us. So ISO 14155, that ISO standard for good clinical practice for med device, really sets forth specifications for clinical investigations of medical devices, including the requirements for electronic data capture tools, so EDC tools. And that those standards are really defining those specifications to ensure data integrity and compliance with the GCP, or the good clinical practice standard. Facilitating compliance to that standard can be greatly simplified by utilizing pre-validated EDC systems, or electronic data capture systems, that help guarantee authenticity, accuracy, and security of the data while maintaining attributability, completeness, as well as audit trails mandated by the standard. EDC systems like Greenlight Guru Clinical can greatly simplify data gathering for a variety of different types of data, including traditional ECRF data you'd see in a PMCF study, a full-blown study, investigator-initiated studies, registries. The platform can also capture electronic patient-reported outcome, or ePro types of data, electronic clinical outcome assessment type of data, as well as surveys. Surveys can be delivered electronically to the end users, whether that end user is a patient that's reporting device experience from the patient perspective or from the clinician perspective. Those materials can be delivered via email, via text message, and the system can facilitate the delivery of those materials, all the while ensuring compliance with the GCP standard for capturing that type of data. The system can also handle a combination of all of these different types of elements. So you might see studies that have eCRF data as well as ePro data in the same study. Modern EDC systems, so we see this 3-step study builder. We won't go into the system here today, but modern EDC systems are highly user-friendly, fortunately. Back when I was working on studies, some of the systems were quite clunky and required quite a bit of computer programming to set the systems up for data capture. That has been greatly simplified when it comes to setting the system up for data capture, so building the study, as well as for end user data entry. So clinicians entering eCRF data, subjects entering survey data, clinicians entering electronic clinical outcome assessments, that sort of thing. So very, very streamlined from start to finish in terms of preparing the system for data entry and then ultimately capturing the data. Okay, I'm going to transition back to my original screen share here. So let me stop here. We'll bring this back up over here. So I want to share just some screenshots of what data capture looks like in modern EDC tools. And in terms of the timeline, we're talking about MDR deadlines. So timelines are of utmost importance. Getting systems like Greenlight Guru Clinical, modern EDC tools set up for data capture typically takes somewhere in the range of a couple months from your first conversation with Greenlight Guru or whomever the vendor would be to the system being fully built and ready for data capture. Usually it's somewhere on the scope of a couple months. For some of the larger systems, that could take 6 months. So you want to plan your timelines as you've laid out your PMCF plan and you're preparing for data capture. You want to give yourself at least a good couple of months buffer time to set the system up. Ultimately, once data capture has begun, this is some examples of what data entry can look like from specifically a survey, clinical outcome assessment type of scenario. So here we see some screenshots. This first one here in the middle at the top, this is when a survey link is clicked on, that URL comes to a mobile device or an email. It brings them into this page, and it uses 2-factor authentication. So there's validation, ensuring that those entering the URL are the ones that are intended to be completed as materials. They enter that code, and it brings them right into the survey. Very user-friendly interface for data entry. Then as all that data is ultimately coming into the sponsor has direct visibility into the completion of that data, immediate availability to review that data. The system makes it very easy to process that data, export it, do statistical analysis, all in a manner that's very approachable. Sponsors are able to do a lot of that work directly, have direct control of the EDC, whereas in years past with some of the older systems, it can be a challenge to access the data. Typically, there's a data manager that you would go through to actually access your data. So very, very approachable, very user-friendly for the modern EDCs to capture that data and review it. For PMCF studies with longer-term follow-up, I want to show a couple screenshots here for that type of study. The system is very flexible in handling a variety of different study types. And here we can see a study with long-term follow-up. So all of these boxes here are representing visits or data events. So we have an initial visit, and then we have long-term follow-up. In this case, we have 4 total visits. And the data, again, is entered directly in the system. Data review, data querying is all done within the system very seamlessly, and the audit log of all that activity is maintained neatly within the platform, having guardrails built in place to ensure compliance with that ISO 14155 GCP standard. As pertains to using an electronic data capture tool like Greenlight Guru Clinical, these are some of the requirements defined by ISO 14155. laying out aspects of the software system that need to be in place to comply with the GCP standards. And this is the compliance that's built in with these modern tools. Having a software tool that facilitates compliance with the ISO standard really should be at the forefront of the decision criteria when picking any EDC tool. Here at Greenlight Guru, we do have the leading toolbox for Medtech clinical data collection. With our EDC software tool, it's a single compliant platform for collection and management of all clinical evidence, safety, and performance data. We touched on it at a very high level today. If you'd like to learn more about the EDC platform, feel free to visit our website, greenlight.guru/clinical, and also encourage everyone to reach out to us for a personalized demo of the platform. You'll probably be meeting with myself on a Zoom call to go through things more in depth. But just wanted to touch at a high level the software tools that can be utilized specifically for clinical data capture as relates to meeting those deadlines under the EU MDR, as well as the compliance that defines how that data is captured. So with that, I'll pass it back to Etienne here, and I suppose we'll open it up to Q&A, but Etienne, I'll hand it back here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Let me get back over to the Q&A and we'll ask some questions. There's a lot of good questions, and appreciate you both, all of the information that you shared, Enrico and Chris. Stefano asked the question, what do you advise to do if I have to submit a new product on the market under MDR without any clinical data on the product to prove clinical evidence?
You need to run a clinical investigation. I would say, unfortunately, we are not wizard, and is a must for a new product. You have to provide clinical data. So you need to perform your clinical investigation in order to collect the necessary clinical evidence to be included in the technical documentation. So there is no way that you can rely on existing data on, or let's say, predicate device, because this is not working in Europe.
Maybe if I could just piggyback a question, because if I were Stefano, I might have another question. Do you have any recommendations on how to have the most streamlined, cost efficient, while still accomplishing everything necessary? Any tips?
Yeah. I would say that depends on the product for sure, because we have a huge variety of different medical devices, and sometimes also you can, conduct certain preclinical tests and provide evidence about the performance of the product in vitro and not, let's say, in vivo. But really depends on the class of risk of medical devices. I would say that for class 3 medical devices, there is no way that you can do something like that. And so you need to run your clinical investigation. There is an opportunity, but it's really limited, only if you have an agreement with your competitor, which is who is collecting clinical data. So you have a product A, which is identical to your, or very, very close to be equivalent, and you can establish an agreement with the company manufacturing your equivalent product. In that case, you can have access to their clinical data, to their technical documentation, to the manufacturing process, and in that case, you can have the possibility to skip it. But it's
Wow.
unlikely.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a rare and remote possibility that you can do that. The only way is that, I don't know, a big company is willing to sell your product, but they want to have their product under their name, and they allow you to keep your existing product with your label in a certain country. In that case, it's an advantage for the small company to establish this agreement, because they can expand, but it's really remote.
Unlikely, yeah, but not unprecedented, sounds like. Is that accurate, or? Very interesting. I mean, that's creative. I love creative solutions. Okay, we don't have to go too far down that path, but at some point we'll have to do a podcast or something on it. I want to know more. Okay. One more thing that I'll throw out, that if that's the case, because that was the most highly voted question, if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, definitely reach out directly to Enrico. Sounds like he could potentially help with some creative solutions. If you do have to do a clinical investigation, which sounds like it's likely, reach out to Chris as well. He'll be able to help you as well, try to make those as streamlined as possible. Sounds like a good duo we have on the team here. Okay, Giovanni asks, is it likely that the EMDR will offer early meetings as per FDA or UK MHRA? I'm assuming kind of like the pre-sub meetings with FDA. Are you able to comment on that?
Yeah. I would say, is it likely? We hope that in the future this will be a message reinforced. Today there is only a guideline, an MDCG guideline, the 2022-14, in which there is, let's say, a recommendation to have a better communication between notified body and medical device manufacturer, but is a guideline. Is a recommendation, is something that it would be great if you could meet and talk more, but the law is against that. You know that notified body are not allowed to do consultancy, and so it's tricky the way you can engage notified body for having the possibility to clear certain doubts that you have. So I don't know if in the future this will be applicable. As I said, it would be great if we can push the regulators in order to offer breakthrough designation pathway also in Europe, as well as they are in other states. But today there is no signs of that.
All right. Let's go to I don't know how to pronounce this name, Zara. What if a manufacturer of MDD certified device misses the deadline to have a signed agreement with the notified body by the end of September 24? What happens to the manufacturer and the product's already on the market?
You will not be allowed to maintain the product on the market. It's easy.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Okay. Yeah. So this is why I say that hurry up, because it takes time also for signing an agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Regarding a significant change that could affect an MDR application, would this include a possible change to the packaging device for shipping purposes?
Oh, I will say that also here depends for sure. If the packaging is affecting the safety of the device because you made a modification and you need to, you need to conduct again tests in order to see if it's appropriate, in order that you can deliver the device in the right condition, in order that this can be used and that there are no additional risk posed to the user and to the patient. I will say that if you have this data, this is something that is not going to affect the possibility to have MDR recertification. So if this was the question that you asked. So I would say definitely, if you provide the correct data, this is not a major change, and there are no particular issue in granting you the MDD extension deadlines for transitioning your product from MDD to MDR.
Yeah. Always recommend a risk-based approach. So low risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool. Okay. Let's see here. I want to go to, I think, Stephanie's question. Similar to the last question, what are my options if I've never submitted my Class 2A, Class 2B device? What are the pros and cons of the options?
Oh, okay. It's not clear to me exactly the question. I never so we are in a case that you are going to submit a new product, or the product was already MDD certified? Because let's say that if you have a new product and you have a Class 2A, Class 2B, probably I know that we are in Europe, but I would say go to United States, because you can win. It's likely that you can have a fast track with a 510K application compared to a CE marking process. And then once you are there, you can collect real world data. So you have a clinical data that you can leverage for the certification of your product in Europe. So this is important also to say that Europe is not against the fact that you collect data outside Europe. depends for sure about on the hospital in which you are running your trial, or the ethnicity. If ethnicity could affect the performance and safety of a certain medical device, but if everything is equivalent, you can use the data that you collect in the United States. So my suggestion is, if these are new products, you go to United States first, and then you come to Europe.
Okay, and I apologize both to you, Stephanie, and to you, Enrico, because I asked these I had marked these as priority. Her first part of the question, you've already answered it, and that was going to the U.S. and getting that clinical data. The specific question, though, that she had started with, would post-market clinical data from U.S. 510K device suffice? And then any recommendations for study protocol? I assume that to make sure that whatever you're going to the US for, you can apply to the EMDR. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts there.
Okay, no, I would say no. Exactly, is feasible. Absolutely, this is feasible. Is what I said just a few seconds before.
Yeah,
but it's impossible to state. It's impossible to state immediately what could be the study protocol, number of patients, because there are no guidelines. This depends on the endpoints of your products, and based on that, you need to do your maths with the biostatistician in order to identify the right sample size to have a robust number of patients confirming the endpoints that you have in your clinical investigation.
Okay. Great advice. Jakobina, if I'm saying your name correctly, asks, how can we expect to implement things such as early pre-market dialogue or accelerated processes when we know that notified bodies have limited resources? National competent authorities cannot, in the EU, help here as they're not doing the conformity assessment. Love to hear your thoughts on this. I know you already kind of expressed some thoughts earlier on the previous question.
Right.
Anything to add here or not?
Not in particular, also because there is nothing by law. It depends on the notified body at the end, but they are not allowed to give you so much advice at this stage.
Okay. I don't know if I fully understand this question, so apologies, Tom, for that. But I'm just going to go ahead and put it as the highest voted at the moment. But what is the feedback on IIT studies with my device? Are they of equal use value for notified bodies as own studies, which are sponsored by the manufacturer? Enrico, do you?
This is yes, is the equivalent to investigator sponsor study, and this is important data in the sense that you can use this data for the MDD to MDR transition for sure. It is not available for the pre-market in the sense that you are not the owner of this data. So the ownership of this data, the promoter, the sponsor is the hospital, is the investigator. And so very often also hospitals are not allowing you to there are certain agreements that you need to do with the hospital, but it's very difficult that this can be accepted. So it's good for real world data collection. So for the PMCF for supporting the post-market clinical follow-up, but not good for let's say an initial certification of a medical device.
Just a quick thought there as well. For investigator-initiated studies, sometimes we see that investigators, some are very familiar with running clinical studies. Some are not. Some are running a study for the first time, perhaps. So there can be some risk as to the familiarity of the investigator and their site personnel with GCP requirements. So ensuring the data that's captured is captured in a way that will stand up to regulatory scrutiny is really important. From a sponsor, you're not kind of the owner, so ensuring that they have the tools that they need and the training that they need to make sure you can use that data for submissions. Because if it's not captured in a compliant way, it may be useless. So just a quick note there.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. There's another question kind of on how to capture data, actually, since if we're kind of tangentially related to this. She asked for Serena asks, for user surveys, are tools such as SurveyMonkeys or Google Forms accepted? What are your thoughts and recommendations there?
Chris, do you want to reply on that?
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, I'll begin. So it depends. Those tools are oftentimes not validated for use for clinical studies specifically. There's a lot more that goes into the capturing of the data than simply having an electronic repository. Things like attributability, the timestamps, the audit log, the record of the data entry, the ability to query data, so reviewing data, again, audit log associated with all of that. These tools, for some applications, can be useful for a low risk device. Study data that may not be used in a submission. Sometimes for like marketing purposes, perhaps maybe those are appropriate. But we find a lot of times those are underpowered when it comes to being validated solutions to capture data for clinical activities.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Okay, great. I love it when we agree, but I also love any kind of disagreement. So feel free to disagree as well. But so Anthony asked, do you guys have a gap analysis performed for MDD to MDR and the major additional requirements? I'm going to kind of defer to you guys. Yeah.
Definitely. This is something that we have been requested to perform since 2022. So this is the first thing that also we recommend to do to medical device manufacturers, so they can understand where are the gaps, what they need to fill in order to have more chances to go straight forward to the MDR recertification. So yes, of course.
I think if I read into this question a little bit, my guess is they're looking for something like, here's what MDD asked for, this was MDR, but I think it's so device dependent that it's not really possible to have one gap analysis out there that meets all. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Case by case. On case by case, we need to deep dive and do the correct gap analysis. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a frustrating answer, Anthony, but hopefully that answers your question. All right. How can manufacturers of equipment used by medical device manufacturers help their customers be compliant? Any thoughts there? I mean, I know that's kind of a little bit of a reach, I suppose.
How can to be compliant? I think that is more related to the manufacturing process. So, but in this case, I don't see that there is a consistent difference compared to MDD, in the sense that also MDD was not super precise regarding the manufacturing process, but CDMOs already work in a proper way. So it's a matter of having a quality management system very well set, having all the instrument with the calibration correct, maintaining all the data regarding raw material, all the processes, and the fact that we are verifying the manufacturing process, and we have a validated manufacturing process. So once there is a robust quality management system in place and we have this data, this is a gold for medical device manufacturer for the recertification.
Okay. Let's make this the last question, and then we'll go ahead and let you all say whatever you like here. Yash asks, what data sources are applied for building the technical document? Unlike FDA, there's no such database. How does clinical research literature like elsewhere work to decide on the test? For similar devices, a predicate be assessed to avoid clinical data. So I think the idea is, if you have the FDA, you can look at a lot of different predicate requirements. Is there anything like that, or how do you establish the clinical data requirements for EUMDR?
Oh, no, no, absolutely. There is nothing like that in Europe, not yet. In the future should be, once EUDAMED would be in full force, maybe we can also have access to additional data, and so have some guidelines on that. But at this stage, you need to look at what your device, what is the current state of the art for your medical device, and you need to run a clinical evaluation with a clinical evaluation plan in order that you can show how you collect the documentation, how you can retrieve risk and benefits of alternative treatments of equivalent devices, as well as what you have to do on your own in order that you can have the sufficient level of clinical evidence for your medical device to be certified under MDR. It's a very complex process, the clinical evaluation. Yeah.
Yeah. And would utilizing some of the information from the FDA help with the justification? Is that accurate? No, not at all.
No.
I mean the justification on how you determine what clinical data to perform.
Yeah. You can look at literature for sure in order to have a rough idea of equivalent devices, if you can detect equivalent devices. But on the other side, you need to work with clinician and with good medical writer and biostatistician in order to determine what is your goal in terms of clinical data you have to collect for confirming performance and safety of your device. So it's a collaborative task, very challenging, but and require a lot of expertise, and is handmade. There is nothing that is already on the shelf that you can buy and you can use.
Understood. All right. Well, thank you so much, Enrico. Really appreciate all of the answers and the presentation, your insights during the Q&A portion. One final reminder to those of you who are listening, today's recording and presentation slides will be sent out in the following days. Chris, thank you as well for all of your information and answering the questions. And thank you all for attending today's presentation. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
See you all next time. Take